Today, we're completely transforming how we look at building 5 kilowatt 48-volt off-grid solar systems. If you've spent any time looking at solar installations online, you've probably seen a million basic wiring diagrams showing these really simple positive to negative flows. But we are going way beyond that surface level stuff today. We're going to treat your system not just as some static schematic on a page, but as a dynamic, living current management network. It's honestly a total game changer, and it's going to fundamentally shift how you approach your builds from here on out.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First up, we'll dive into the central current gateway. Then we'll break down the physics of DC power. Third, we're exploring busbars as distribution nodes. And finally, we'll wrap up with mechanical stress and safety. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the central current gateway, redefining the inverter. When you set out to build one of these 5 kilowatt systems, the inverter is absolutely not just a box you slap onto a piece of plywood. No way. It is the critical central current gateway of your entire setup. The stakes here are incredibly high. How you mount this gateway and how you wire it up literally determines whether your system runs nice and cool or if it slowly develops these hidden, super dangerous heat failures. There's a massive difference between the generic setup you see all over the internet, treating it like a basic bracket installation with simple connectors, versus true engineering reality. We need to treat the inverter as a rock-solid thermal and electrical anchor point, and the wiring as a highly tuned network. It's the fundamental difference between a system that kinda just functions for a little while and one that's genuinely engineered to survive safely for the long haul. Let's actually walk through the physical path the energy takes to see how this builds a controlled energy flow. Think of it like a spatial map. Step 1, the energy kicks off at the battery bank. Step 2, it travels into the busbar system, which acts like a grand central station, aggregating and distributing that power. And step 3, it finally hits the inverter DC terminals. This isn't just running a wire from point A to point B. It is a highly controlled low-voltage distribution system. Getting a solid grip on this exact flow is absolutely crucial if you want to spot exactly where thermal bottlenecks and failures are hiding out. Moving right along to Section 2, Physics of DC Power, the math behind the heat. Okay, now that we've mapped out the physical path, we really need to talk about the invisible physics that dictate how these systems behave under a heavy load. And this is where the math gets real. Power in any DC system is basically voltage multiplied by current. But the complete real-world equation for DC current draw estimation is this. I, the current, equals P, the power, divided by V, the voltage, multiplied by eta, which is the inverter's efficiency factor. Because your system's voltage is fixed at a nominal 48 volts, the only way to deliver 5 kilowatts of power is by yanking a massive amount of current from those batteries. And here's the real kicker. Because inverters are literally never 100% efficient, that current draw has to rise even higher just to make up for those internal efficiency losses. Let's ground that math in a real-world metric. Over 100 amps. Under heavy load conditions, a 5 kilowatt inverter on a 48-volt system can easily, and I mean easily, draw over 100 continuous amps of current. I really want you to stop and think about the sheer volume of that. That is a massive wave of continuous DC current, constantly squeezing through every single cable, every lug, and every tiny connection point in your system. And that massive wave of current is exactly why thermal management is the whole ballgame. Heat generation doesn't just bump up a tiny bit when current increases. Oh no, it increases with the square of the current. The power of heat is directly proportional to the current squared. That means if you have even the absolute smallest inefficiency or a tiny bit of resistance at a connection point, the heat doesn't just rise on a steady slope. It explodes exponentially. It goes from zero to dangerous incredibly fast if your current management network isn't physically perfect. Which brings us right into Section 3, busbars as distribution nodes, more than connectors. If we want to build safely, we have to completely ditch the idea that busbars are just handy little metal strips where you bolt cables together. They are so much more than that. I'm actually going to slow down for a second because I really want this engineering truth to sink in. Every milliohm of resistance at a terminal becomes heat under load. Just 1 milliohm. When you're pushing over 100 amps, all that inverter current is aggregating through these shared low-resistance nodes. If you treat a busbar like a simple chunk of metal and ignore that tiny contact resistance, you are actively building a hidden thermal bottleneck. That invisible resistance is silently, continuously converting your battery's valuable energy into destructive heat right at the terminal. So I gotta ask you, what actually happens to a loose bolt? In the DIY solar world, we hear it all the time, right? Just get it hand tight, or if it feels firm, it's good to go. But what physically happens when a bolt on your busbar isn't torqued down to the exact manufacturer specification?
Well, what happens is a terrifyingly predictable cascading failure. Let's walk through this nightmare scenario. It starts with that slightly loose bolt, which immediately causes increased contact resistance. And remembering our physics equation from earlier, that resistance instantly creates localized heating right at the terminal. That heat then causes the metal components to oxidize. And here's where it goes completely off the rails. The oxidation increases the contact resistance even further, which, of course, leads to an exponential heat rise. It becomes a self-reinforcing failure cycle. A bolt that just felt firm on day one will eventually melt your terminal entirely. It proves that even the most slightly loose connection is going to create a destructive, system-ending hotspot.
And actually, it's not just the bolts. Your physical layout plays a massive role in this heat, too. If you have unequal cable lengths and varied torque across your battery strings, it physically forces unequal current sharing. Basically, one battery string ends up working way harder than the rest, which accelerates system imbalance and skyrockets that localized heat. But if you aim for the ideal setup, meaning perfectly equal cable lengths and every single terminal torqued strictly to manufacturer's spec, you ensure perfect parallel current sharing. This prevents any single battery string from sweating too hard and keeps the entire system balanced and, most importantly, cool. All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, Mechanical Stress and Safety. Mechanical stability is electrical safety.
We absolutely have to connect the physical, mechanical integrity of your build directly to its long-term electrical survival. You just cannot separate the two. It's so easy to forget that a sloppy physical mounting job directly messes with the flow of electricity. Think about the mechanical strain risks. If your inverter mounting or cable routing is putting physical stress on those DC terminals, it's going to twist the cable lugs. And that mechanical strain translates into micro movements at the connections over time. Maybe it's subtle vibrations, or maybe it's just the natural expansion and contraction from heat cycling. But that micro movement slowly loosens the connection, dragging you right back into that nasty cycle of resistance buildup and unseen thermal degradation we just talked about. I mean it, your electrical safety literally depends on your mechanical stability.
And this brings us to a really harsh reality where there's just zero room for compromise. Accidental short circuits in 48-volt systems can produce severe, destructive arc conditions under high current. People constantly underestimate 48-volt setups because they safely categorize them in their heads as low voltage. But let me be super clear about this. Low voltage absolutely does not mean low danger when you have massive current potential sitting right behind it. If a positive and negative accidentally touch, or if a high current connection pops off under a heavy load, it can pull a severe, blinding arc. And trust me, you can never, ever rely on just cable insulation to protect you from that.
Okay, so how do we actually solve this? How do we build it right? Well, here are the clear, absolutely non-negotiable safe engineering practices you have to bake into your design. Step 1. Mount that inverter on a totally solid surface with plenty of airflow clearance. It has to be a true vibration and heat anchor point, so absolutely no enclosed, unventilated closets. Step 2. Torque every single terminal to the exact manufacturer specification. Use a proper torque wrench. No guessing, no feels firm. And step 3. Ensure you have proper fusing as close to the battery source as physically possible. That's your frontline defense against those severe fault currents and arcs. Sticking to these steps ensures your system operates with a totally predictable current flow and a safely balanced discharge. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Is your system built just to function, or is it built to survive? Look, almost anyone can bolt some generic parts to a piece of plywood, wire it all up, and watch the lights come on. But now you know the invisible physics that are actually at play here. You understand the massive 100-amp current loads, the exponential thermal risks, and why mechanical stability is literally electrical safety. The true reliability of your off-grid project comes down to treating it like the precision current management network it really is. Take this knowledge, apply it to your own builds, and make absolutely sure they are built to survive. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building safely, and we will catch you next time.